Hello, Video Space Effects. This is a video reply to the comment that you left on the video that I posted. I guess it was earlier today. And that was about how to select a target base in TransX, like when coming back from the moon. Going to Earth, there's no way to select a target base using TransX, as you pointed out in that comment. There is something that we can do that may be useful, though, and that's what I'm going to show here in this video. This is something Dimitri showed me a little over 2 months ago, and it's actually kind of funny that you made that comment today, because the video that I'm posting Monday is actually going to demonstrate this as well. So in this scenario, I am already here at the moon in orbit, and I've already completed the eject burn for going back to Earth. Now, what we can do if we want to arrive at Earth so that we're already in plane with a target base, and we want to do that using TransX, we can start setting it up now, although it doesn't really matter if we set it up now or if we wait until we're a little bit farther away from the moon, because of all the inaccuracies of TransX, the math model, all that stuff that I always talk about. So it doesn't really matter if we set it up now, but we'll go ahead and set it up now. So here in View Setup, we'll go through the variables, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to turn auto plan off. Then we're going to cycle through to advanced. We're going to turn advanced on. Now we want to cycle back around so we can get to plan type. And we want to change that from cruise plan to through point. And then once we do that, we're going to go to plan, and we're going to turn that into an encounter. We're going to change that to encounter. And it's worth pointing out that these options that you have available in plan, here we have encounter, none, and slingshot. These options are dependent on which plan type you have. So if we have a cruise plan instead of a through point, then when we come over here to plan, we don't have encounter anymore. We instead have eject, sling direct, and none. So that option for encounter is gone. So we want to make sure that our plan type is the one that we need, which is through point. So then we come over to plan and set it to encounter. Now when we have that, if we press VW, we have access to all this information that's relative to the base, which we wouldn't have otherwise. Now this is coming from MapMFD, whatever base we have selected in MapMFD, if any, that's where this information is coming from, because we cannot actually target a base name in TransX. So the next thing that we would want to do would be to bring up MapMFD, reference the Earth, and then target whatever base we want to target. Let's go with Cape Canaveral. Now we can see that according to TransX, we are going to be 69 kilometers off from Cape Canaveral. And we would have a minimum altitude by the time we got back to Earth of 1,700 kilometers. Now, obviously, that's not acceptable, and this would ideally be closer to zero, but this is where this information, quite frankly, does not matter at this point, because by the time we get away from the moon, all this is going to change a lot. But we can see that this is, in fact, getting its details from MapMFD by selecting a different base. Let's select Wide Awake instead. So here we have an off-plane distance of 63 kilometers, but if we select Wide Awake, now we have an off-plane distance of 3,000 800 kilometers. So it is in fact getting the information from MapMFD. So let's go ahead and reselect Cape Canaveral. And now let's just warp time forward to get away from the moon, because this is just useless for now.
Rotation.
Let's warp time at 1,000. And you'll just see how quickly all this changes. Let's go out to 10,000. And we're just going to wait till this gets to at least, 0.02 or something like that. And then TransX will update. And there it is. TransX is now updated, so we're now far enough away from the moon that the moon's gravity, isn't, it's not the dominating influence, and it's not affecting TransX too much. So now let's reference Earth instead. So now TransX is telling us that our minimum altitude is going to be 700 kilometers, so it's already come down by, like 1,000 kilometers. And it says the off-plane distance is going to be 1,400, but as we warp time forward at 1,000, you can see it's still coming down, so we don't necessarily need to do a mid-course yet. Maybe when we get to the point where Earth is the dominating influence. Minimum altitude's continuing to climb, but these variables tend to adjust here when we're at that, point where we're between the bodies. So let's just warp time forward until we're at the point where at least Earth is the strongest gravitational influence. A little bit of kill rotation there. Actually, I probably could bring down the minimum altitude already, but now this is something else I want to point out. As soon as you cross over that the point where one body stops becoming the dominating gravitational influence and another one takes over, you'll notice that we lost our information here. And that's not actually a problem. All we have to do is go back to MapMFD and just target the base again. And you'll see here, as soon as I hit enter, now we have our information for the off-plane distance. But that's important to know that that's going to happen, because otherwise you'll see all that disappear and you won't know what to do about it. You just have to go back to MapMFD and reselect the base again. So now Earth is the dominating gravitational influence. We can use our autopilots. I'm going to start here a little bit by just going to bring down the minimum altitude a little bit.
Translation.
That's not going to be fast
Rotation.
enough. Let's rotate inward. Let's just bring that down a little bit. And I'm doing the altitude first because that's going to have an impact on the off plane. Let's start with that. Now let's go, I don't know if it's going to be normal plus or minus. So let's just go minus. I think it's going to be minus. Now we're going to put in a little bit of a plane change to bring the off-plane distance hopefully closer to 0. If not, I'll have to go normal plus. Okay, yeah, that's the correct direction. So just doing a little bit of a burn here. I'm going to bring the off-plane down. Probably don't need to bring it all the way to 0, because as we continue to go forward closer to Earth, it will change. But let's get it pretty close to 0. And let's just go with that for now. because I don't know what kind of effects we're going to have between here and the by the time we get over to Earth, because we still got a little ways to go.
Translation.
So let's
Rotation.
kill rotate. Actually, let me go prograde because I like to see where I'm going.
Translation. Rotation.
And yeah, I probably didn't need to bring that all the way down to 10 or 11. I probably could have left it at 50 or something. Minimum altitude's continuing to go up, so probably need to make a bit more of an adjustment there. Just warping time forward a little bit, just seeing what's happening with our variables. I'm going to stop here
Translation. Rotation.
and just do a little bit of translating.
Translation.
Translating the off plane. And bringing the altitude down a little bit, which is also affecting the off plane. So let's just go something like that. Now let's go ahead and warp time forward all the way over to Earth. And of course, on a real flight, you'd make whatever adjustments you needed to make, but let's just get all the way over to Earth now. See where we end up. And there we have it. We have an off plane of just 2 kilometers. So if we bring up map MFD, see we're here, so we'll have to go all the way around one time, but we should be basically lined up more or less. And obviously we just have to do our braking burn and then deorbit and land. So hopefully this was useful, and that's it.